All eyes were supposed to be on Hope and Carter during their wedding, but drama had a way of taking the spotlight in Los Angeles, and once again the sacred vows of love and devotion were overshadowed by whispered suspicions, surprising revelations, and emotions too heavy to ignore. Luna had entered the event with a secret on her shoulders that weighed like an anchor. She remained composed, smiling slightly as the guests took their seats and admired Hope's bright beauty and Carter's unwavering confidence. Despite her placid facade, her heart raced with each pulse, knowing that her world could alter forever after this day. The thought of pregnancy had been on her mind for weeks. She hadn't dared to reveal it openly, not even to those closest to her, because the father of her potential kid wasn't just any man, it was Will Spencer. Will was still a young man on the verge of adulthood, and the tangled web of family, business, and emotions surrounding the Spencers made the scenario considerably more volatile than anything Luna had ever encountered. She had convinced herself to celebrate Hope and Carter's happiness, but the truth was never far behind. Her hand occasionally moved toward her tummy, an instinctive gesture that piqued the interest of a few perceptive guests, who swiftly dismissed it as anxiety or distraction. The wedding itself was picture-perfect. Hope moved down the aisle with grace, her gown flowing lightly as she linked hands with Carter, who had been her source of strength and compassion through many trials. For once, happiness appeared conceivable, and those gathered hoped passionately that this union would last where so many others had failed. Ridge and Brooke sat close together, beaming with delight, as Katie dried her eyes. Zen flashed a modest smile, his tangled history with Hope not forgotten but respectfully placed aside for today. Even Thomas, despite his distance, felt a sense of relief when his sister chose someone she could trust. But Luna's presence at the wedding was like a quiet storm gathering in the background. She stayed near the back, trying not to draw attention, but her aura appeared restless. She relived every memory of her time with Will, their clandestine discussions, the vulnerability they had shared, and the reckless moments that had led them here. Will, the son of Bill Spencer and Katie Logan, was at a crossroads in his life, caught between his family's expectations and his own search for identity. Luna had not intended to fall into his orbit, but once she did, the connection was inescapable. What she hadn't expected was the outcome, which she now feared. Luna attempted to remain calm as Hope and Carter exchanged vows. The terms honesty, trust, and dedication pierced deeply. She was aware that secrets had the potential to damage relationships and families at this stage. How often had the Forresters, Logans, and Spencers suffered because someone chose to conceal the truth until it was too late? She bit her lip, quietly promising herself that she would not let history repeat itself. But when? How? The timing seemed implausible. Could she truly admit that she may be carrying Will's child in the midst of a wedding? She felt a rush of panic just thinking about it. Will was not there at the ceremony, which Luna saw as a little mercy. His departure provided her with a brief shield, allowing her to avoid instant confrontation. Nonetheless, she could almost feel his presence, as if their tie lingered in her very blood. If she was actually pregnant, it would connect her to him in ways none of them was prepared for. And what about Katie, who has always been protective of her son? What about Bill, who prided himself on control and legacy? The consequences might be devastating. Throughout the reception, Luna tried to fit in, smiling pleasantly and sipping from her glass while avoiding alcohol. Every toast, laugh, and dance seemed unreal to her, as if she were watching from outside her own body. She watched how Brooke examined her at times, her maternal instincts detecting something wrong. She also noted Ridge's careful stares, and how he constantly seemed skeptical when someone wasn't completely forthcoming. And then there was Hope, gleaming with wedding pleasure, unconscious of the storm looming just beyond the horizon of her wonderful day. Carter embraced Hope close on the dance floor, their joy radiating outward, and Luna felt a twinge of envy and longing. She desired that type of constancy, the certainty of love without conditions. But she had secrets. She excused herself, stepping out into the garden for air, her hands quivering as she gripped the railing. The moonlight bounced off her cheeks as she said the words she hadn't told anybody yet. What if I'm pregnant? Saying it gave the thought strength and it became real. Her mind raced with scenarios. What if she was? How would Will react? He can be astonished, overwhelmed, or even angry. But a part of her remembered his gentleness, How he had confided in her about wanting to leave his father's shadow and forge his own path. Could this child, if it existed, represent the start of anything significant, or would it ruin them both? She closed her eyes and imagined Katie's expression, Bill's rage, and the rumors that would reverberate throughout the Forrester and Spencer families. It wouldn't stay private for long. Nothing does in their world. Back inside, the celebration continued, but Luna's absence was noticed. Brooke excused herself and met Luna in the yard, her expression pleasant yet searching. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" Brooke inquired, her voice calm but filled with concern. Luna mustered a smile and nodded swiftly. "Just needed some air, that's all." Brooke wasn't convinced. She went for Luna's hand and gave it a reassuring squeeze. "You may always talk to me. Whatever it is, you do not have to bear it alone." The kindness almost broke Luna's willpower. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she swallowed them and whispered, "Thank you, Brooke." She couldn't confess right now, but perhaps someday soon. Brooke nodded, respecting the unspoken boundaries, but her expression was filled with dread. When she returned inside, she exchanged a quiet look with Ridge, quietly confirming that something was amiss, but she did not press the issue further. As the night progressed, Luna stayed silent, her thoughts consumed by the decision she would soon have to make. She had always admired Hope's bravery, the way she decided to face her challenges rather than avoid them. Perhaps Luna would have to summon the same courage for herself. Whether her secret was real, it would affect both her and Will's destiny. It might split families, ignite new alliances, or even wreck lives. But she knew one thing for certain: the truth could not be hidden forever. She laid a touch on her stomach again as she left the wedding, sliding silently into the night. A silent prayer passed her lips, not just for herself, but also for the child she could be carrying, Will, and the strength to face what lay ahead. In the City of Angels, love and betrayal frequently went hand in hand, and Luna stood on the verge of that dance, knowing that her next moves might change everything. Her vehicle journey home was silent, and her phone buzzed with unanswered texts. She remembered Will's smile, bewilderment, and desperation to prove himself. Would he consider this a burden or a blessing? She did not know. What she did know was that the walls of concealment were already closing in, and the truth would eventually emerge, whether she was ready or not. The story of the night was intended to be Hope and Carter's fairy tale beginning, but as the guests left and the flowers faded in their vases, whispers began to spread. Some had noticed Luna's pale face, inattentive demeanor, and avoidance of champagne. In a society where secrets are rarely kept buried, it was only a matter of time until someone figured out the truth. So Hope and Carter's wedding became more than just a union of love. It served as the backdrop for another tale, one that would soon take center stage. The potential that Luna was pregnant with Will Spencer's child, a discovery that had the power to restructure families, twist loyalties, and rekindle rivalries. The night was over, but the drama had only just begun, and Luna's quiet secret would not remain such for long. The celebration of Hope and Carter's union was charged with an energy that should have only been positive. Music played, laughter filled the air, and clinking glasses reverberated around the hall. Yet, underlying the warmth and unity of the evening, Luna's secret lurked like an unspoken shadow. She sat at one of the tables, attempting to engage in lighter conversation, but her mind raced non-stop. Every grin she forced seemed heavy, and every word she spoke seemed empty, because her mind was fully concentrated on one thing. If she was pregnant, she wouldn't be able to conceal it for long. She reflected on what had brought her here. She hadn't planned on falling for Will Spencer. He was younger, still trying to figure out what it meant to be Spencer and Bill's son. However, Luna had noticed aspects of him that others had overlooked. His fragility, his charm when his barriers were down, and his desire to be more than just an extension of his family's tradition. They had connected in those fleeting times when walls fell and emotions took precedence over logic. Those times felt intense, almost reckless, but also authentic in ways that were difficult to express. Now reality was catching up with both of them. Luna pushed her hand against her glass of water, attempting to control the shaking of her fingers. She considered how the Spencers would react. Katie, who is extremely protective of her kid, would probably perceive Luna as a harmful diversion. Bill, on the other hand, would be upset not only at Luna but also at Will. The powerful dollar Bill Spencer, who commanded businesses and empires, was unprepared for the emotional complexities of real life. He would perceive this probable pregnancy as a scandal, a problem, and possibly even a betrayal. Her thoughts drifted back to Hope and Carter. Hope looked stunning and glowing in Carter's arms as they cut the cake together, their laughter booming like music. Their love was based on mutual respect and healing. Carter had been through grief, rejection, and disappointment, but now he was finally experiencing the stability he had always desired. Hope, too, had suffered betrayals and losses, but her face now shone with peace. Luna couldn't help but compare their predicament to her own. Why did their love feel so flawless, but hers was burdened down by secret and fear? She craved that level of assurance, but all she had now was doubt. Brooke noticed her staring for too long, her maternal senses stronger than most. Brooke glided effortlessly across the room, gently placing her hand on Luna's shoulder. "Sweetheart," she remarked quietly, "you are distracted. Are you certain you're feeling okay?" Luna swallowed hard and forced a faint grin. "I'm fine, actually." Brooke was not really convinced, but she let it go. She'd seen it before. Secrets eating away at someone until they blew, tearing families apart. She only hoped Luna would avoid making the same mistakes as others. As the evening progressed, Ridge delivered his toast. He spoke with passion about love, second chances, and the value of honesty in relationships. His words struck Luna like a strike to the chest. Honesty was such a basic notion, but in their society it was always the most difficult to preserve. Ridge had been guilty of concealing information and making decisions that had far-reaching consequences. And yet, here he was, pushing for truth as if it were the basis of everything. Luna blinked back tears, feeling the weight of her own dishonesty become heavier with each passing moment. Zend had also been keeping an eye on her from across the room. He had always been clever and alert, and despite his troubled relationship with Luna, he recognized things that others had missed. The way she avoided champagne, her pale complexion, the distant look in her eyes, it all added up to something. He leaned closer to Paris and whispered, "Something is wrong with Luna." Paris scowled and followed his gaze without saying anything. She had seen what rumors could do, and she was not going to start another without proof. Still, Zend's words hung in the air like a silent forecast. When the dance began, Luna excused herself once more, heading outside into the chilly night. Her mind raced with what-ifs. What if she wasn't pregnant and it was all just nerves? What if she was, and this child became the subject of another controversy that would tear families apart for years? She remembered Steffi, who had always been apprehensive of outsiders, ruining the delicate equilibrium of their universe. She thought about Thomas, who was scarred from the consequences of secrets and lies. She thought about Liam, who had been in and out of Hope's life, and how he would surely become involved in this as well, given his ties to both the Spencers and Hope. Every option felt like a storm about to break. Meanwhile, Will was nowhere near the wedding, but Luna was certain that his absence would not endure indefinitely. She would eventually have to confront him. She could image his reaction when she informed him. Shock, incredulity, and possibly even denial. He wasn't ready for parenthood, and she wasn't prepared for motherhood. And yet, ready or not, the truth would emerge. Life in Los Angeles had a way of bringing secrets to light, often at the worst conceivable times. As she looked up at the stars, Luna told herself, "I have to be strong. I can't hold this inside forever." She wasn't sure when the words would come out or who she'd tell first, but she knew the time was coming. Her body, heart, and conscience wouldn't let her conceal indefinitely. Back inside, Brooke and Ridge exchanged apprehensive looks. Brooke came up close, muttering, "I believe Luna is having a problem. Have you noticed how she avoided the champagne?" Ridge nodded, his gaze tightening. "Yeah, and she has been distracted all night. Whatever it is, it's enormous." Brooke groaned, torn between wanting to face Luna directly and protecting her privacy. For the time being, she has chosen to let Luna come forward at her own pace. The night soon came to an end, with guests hugging and congratulating Hope and Carter as they prepared to leave. Luna slid out silently, unobserved by most, her head still full of fear and doubt. Driving home, she relived every glance, word, and suspicion from the evening. She knew the murmurs had already begun. In their world, curiosity would quickly lead to combat. When she got home, she sat in the dark for a long time, her palm resting protectively on her stomach. For the first time, she allowed herself to consider the possibility of bearing a kid. What if she is carrying Will's child? The concept horrified her, but it also sparked something deep inside. A glimmer of hope, love, and possibility. Perhaps this wasn't simply the end of her freedom. Perhaps that was the start of something new. However, she had no idea if it would be a blessing or a curse. The city outside was alive with activity, but Luna was alone in her peaceful corner, bearing the weight of her secret. She recalled Hope's wedding vows, the promises of love and honesty, and wondered if she would ever have the opportunity to stand in front of someone she loved and make those same promises. For the time being, she only had uncertainty and the awareness that her secret would change everything. The Spencers would not keep quiet once the truth was out. Bill's reaction would be explosive. Katie's pain, Hope's perplexity, Ridge's judgment, and Brooke's fear would all fall on Luna's shoulders. And Will, caught in the midst of it all, would be pushed to mature faster than he ever imagined. Their lives were suddenly entwined in ways neither of them had anticipated. So the night of Hope and Carter's wedding became more than simply a party. It marked the start of another story. Luna's, Will's, and the story of a kid who may soon transform the landscape of their families forever.